Hey, what's up, ecosystem? How much does DOT compliance and legal trailer overhang affect your life? A lot, right? Well, tonight we're going to talk to the experts. So sharpen up your pencils. It's Tuesday Nights Live on Auto Transport Intel. I'm Jay, your host. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back again, everybody, to Auto Transport Intel. I'm Jay, your host, and you are watching Auto Transport Intel live on Tuesday night. You know that I'm live every Tuesday night talking about all things car hauling, and I'm really glad to have you back with me. You know, listen, if you're new to the show, let me give you the rundown. I'm going to say hello. I gave my little intro, and then I ran the car hauler, and now we're in the show. And then in a couple minutes, I'm going to go and say hello to the live chat. The live chat is a huge part of this show. So if it's your first time here and, you know, you want to have it, you got a question, maybe you want to get into car hauling, or maybe you want to steer somebody in the right direction, we invite you to do that. Got a great community building here. And then after I say hello to the live chat, we're going to do some industry news. That's stuff that I get off Facebook, memes, photos, fun stuff, ugly stuff. It's educational, so we're going to do that, and then we're going to invite Mike from OOIDA Government Affairs. He is going to talk to us. This is a technical show. This is compliance and overhang is tonight's show. We're going to get all technical, and so Mike's going to help us do that. And then we're going to bring in Ty from CTS as well, and then Brian Riker, YourDOTguy.com, Fleet Compliance Solutions Specialist, and we're going to continue the conversation and open it up, and it's going to be, man, it's not for everybody, but if you are really interested in knowing the laws on this, this is your show. This is it. So I'm really happy to be the MC of this topic here tonight, and let me just remind you that you are watching Auto Transport Intel. If you want to learn car shipping, watch Auto Transport Intel, the car hauling business channel. We are talking to new car shippers. I'm training dispatchers. We are also talking about auto brokering. If you want to talk about lead generation, if you sell insurance, you want to talk about trucks, you want to talk about trailers. And then starting tomorrow, we're headed to the Matt's 2019 trucking show. It is off the hook, man. This is really great stuff. So this is Auto Transport Intel, where car shippers and car haulers get together, where you can learn car shipping, and I want you to watch Auto Transport Intel every Tuesday night on Tuesday Nights Live. So let's go ahead and say hello to the live chat here. Now, I'm still, I'm going to start where the live chat started. You guys are already, and I'm going to catch up to you. So I apologize if it takes me a few minutes to say hello to you. I want to say hello to M. Fields. Hey, what's up? And by the way, can you guys hear me okay? Is the sound okay? Is the video okay? I try to get in the habit of always asking that question. And I appreciate all your feedback on that. So listen, it's Marcus from Exclusive Luxury Transport in Las Vegas. He's just checking in as early while he's able to stop on the road. So we appreciate that. Thanks for saying hello. And Marcus from Exclusive Luxury Transport in Las Vegas. Matt from Anytime Towing in Vermont says, what's up, ecosystem? Thanks for joining the show again, Matt. Always with us when you're able. Really appreciate it. Big Huge Mike says hello. Hey, what's up? I got a thumbs up on the audio. Thank you, Kimberly, for checking that for me. Kimberly is going to be with me. She's my production assistant at Matt's and really helps out with the show. So, Tommy Lund says hello. Hey, what's up, Tommy? Tommy has been active in the YouTube comments lately. Listen, guys, if you have a question, if you have a video-specific question, you can comment in YouTube comments. It's a great way to ask a video-specific question. But if you want to, you can always email me, autotransportintel@gmail.com. Oh, and don't be shy. Go ahead and give a like to any video that helps you. It helps me, help you, and we can help each other. Speaking of, got a really cool announcement. I am going to be, I ran this past guy at AHA, and I think it's official. I'm going to be part of a breakout session speaking at the Auto Haulers Association of America in May. So, here to help the car hauling community. That's what Auto Transport Intel is for. I really do want to help. It's been my goal all along, ever since I was dispatching, feeling the pain of the guys I was working for, the car haulers. You guys know this. You are out there hauling. I'm sitting at a desk. And thank goodness, that way I can make a show about this. Because this industry needs help and attention and care. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about at the Auto Haulers Association of America. I think we take it for granted that, everybody knows what we know. We know what we know, but not everybody else knows what we know. And we have a hard time sharing information. When people need help, it doesn't get shared very well. So I want to help change that. I think I'm already helping change that, and you're helping me change that as well. So I appreciate that. So that's what it's all about. So that's going to happen. Bill at Bad Apple says, what's up, everyone? Dude, what's up, Bill? Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. By the way, I am wearing Faith and Freedom t-shirt tonight. This is Jeff Bass's company, Faith and Freedom Transport. So if you send me a t-shirt, I'll wear it on the show. I know it's not that exciting, but why not? Let's do this. Welcome back to the show, Bill. Bulldog Transport's in the house. What's up? Thanks for having us on the show last week. Yeah, it was a great show last week. I'm proud of every week, but that was a great show. And what I was able to do is the next day, I took the interview segment of that show, and I just posted the video of the interview by itself of us talking, just a segment, because I know it's hard to watch the whole show and where do I go, and I just want to know this. So we were talking about trailers. That was a great segment. So thanks so much for being part of the show last week, Chris. Big Huge Mike says, I'll be listening. I'm going to be driving the big truck. That's great. And I hope that you're able to consume the show while you're driving. That's one of the reasons it's a long show. I'm going to start trying to shoot for just 2 hours instead of 2.5 hours. And before that, it was 3 hours. And goodness gracious, that's a long show. So 2 hours should do it. Let's see. Market Trucking answers, Jay, you'll be at Matt's. And if so, what booth? Hey, who knows what booth I'm going to be in? I only made a song about it. So let me know if you know what booth I'm going to be in at Matt's. I'm going to be walking around too. I got press credentials, but yes, I'm going to be in a booth, and that's the teaser. Quality Transportation says, hey man, what's going on? Well, welcome to the show, Quality Transportation. I appreciate you saying hello. And not everybody has to say hello. If you just want to do a sit and wait and see, it's all good. I hope you enjoy the show. Miguel Valle, what's up? Welcome to the show, Miguel. Thank you for saying hello. I appreciate it. Rafael Rivas, hey Jay, love the show, love the information. That's great, man. And I appreciate that. And if it's not informative, then it's just Auto Transport. It's not Auto Transport Intel if it doesn't have information. Tim at LRT Transport LLC, hey Jay, love the show. Thanks for all your help. Thank you, Tim. That's really cool. Thanks for saying hello, and I appreciate that. It means a lot. Quality Transportation, any factoring companies for auto haulers, can't find anyone. Thank you. It is hard to find factoring companies. I'm still on the lookout for factoring. I hear that there is a factoring company that can help us out, and so I'm working on creating more affiliate agreements with companies to help you guys, and I'll be putting more of that information on the website. Truckify says, hey, what's up? Truckify car hauling app. Watch your lovely show always, bro. Thank you, Truckify. Appreciate it. And thank you for your contributions and input. And, if you need beta testers or whatever you're looking for, plus we got to have you on the show. We haven't had you on the show yet, so thanks for tuning in. Bulldog says loud and clear. Ty says hanging in for the overhang. That's right. Otherwise you get a hangover. So you don't want that. Chris says congratulations. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, it means a lot. It's amazing. Things are happening fast now, which is really exciting. But I work hard to make that happen, man. I make a lot of phone calls, do a lot of networking. I mean, you got to build a business, right? I mean, it takes hard work. This isn't just landing in my lap, believe me. I'm new here. I find car hauling interesting, but I'm not a truck car hauler or even shipping cars. That's cool. You know what, Tommy? You can help us help educate car shippers. That's a huge part of the show. And I find it hard. How do I reach the individual car shipper that's, sitting at home, typing cheap car shipping, get a pizza, Taco Bell drive-through, give me Netflix. I want, By the way, I went to Home Depot today. All the cashiers, there was no more human cashiers. They had replaced the rest of the human cashiers with the self-checkout pads. It was strange. There were still a couple human beings to help me out if I had trouble with the robot, which I did because I ended up in the card-only robot line instead of I was paying with cash. So help me, Tommy, help me. Hotshot Dave says, hey, what's up, Hotshot Dave? Man, great having you on the show last week, too. Can't believe a week's already gone by. Is that right? That's crazy. That's crazy, man. Time flies, dude. Matt, at Anytime Towing Cleveland eastbound, just did a coast-to-coast run. Mark put a good plug in for you yesterday. Thank you. That's way cool, man. I appreciate that. And if anybody out there, if you need business cards, I've got some new Auto Transport Intel business cards that say the Car Hauling Business Channel. Got the email address. If you want to help plug the show, I can send you some business cards. Send me an email, autotransportintel@gmail.com. Oh, cool. So it's 8:15. Oh, that's so sweet. I'm right on time for industry news. Hotshot Dave says there's too many CODs and short-term payments for that. Freight are usually 45 to 90 days. Yeah, I agree. That's one of the things is, and you know this too, Dave, is that if you think you're going to be able to get all the loads you want without having to deal with some longer term pay, right? There's going to be good paying loads that you want to book and they don't pay COD. And they don't even pay 10 pay. They're 30-day pay. And I know that's hard. But if you find yourself in a bind, that's where the factoring comes in. And I know factoring's not ideal. But it's one of many services. And just like, at this point, I drink the ELD Kool-Aid. You're right. I'm sitting here drinking the ELD Kool-Aid. I got to do something just to get used to the idea that we're all going to be hooked up to machines. Ah, man. And see how I do that too? I work in marketing with getting a drink. It's the ELD Kool-Aid. It's amazing. But even maybe I need some factoring Kool-Aid. What color would factoring Kool-Aid be, ladies and gentlemen? All right, while we ponder that, let's go ahead and go into, we did that screen. Let's do some industry news. It's not very long this week. And by the way, let's go ahead and show, here's the graphic for tonight's show. This, again, is the Compliance and Overhang show. Compliance and Overhang. Sounds like a comedy duo or, a pretty intense law firm. Compliance and Overhang. So that's the show tonight. I know it's not thrilling, but it is important. And so we are going to dive into some serious PDFs and intense information. But before that, let's have a little fun. Once a trucker, always a trucker. You can never truly get rid of it. It's like the mafia. You know too much. So I like to start off with that macro view of trucking meme, and then we're going to move into, let's see here. I bet his boss is going to be ticked. I clean it up for Google and YouTube. That he tried to make a shortcut, right? Because the truck says, okay. All right. So that's good. It seems like a joke, but I I think that's really written on the truck. I don't know. It's ironic. Okay. TQL executives. Oh, oh, come on. I mean, that's funny. And you know what? You know what's relevant? No matter what part of the community you're in, you know, something's funny to you that's not funny to others. And by the way, that's not even, those guys are not TQL executives. We got Reagan and Bush, and I think a bunch of libs put that together. Okay. Number one, I think this is extremely cinematic. And number two, you don't want that to happen. So I shared it because, you know, that's an amazing photo, actually. If it wasn't so darn right depressing. Okay, and by the way, this was, did you guys see this one going around on Facebook? I shared it. I think you saw it in several places. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I think we're still good. Yeah, this was going around on Facebook. So it's actually a video. And if you go to my Facebook feed and you go backward in the videos, you can see this. This was you actually get to see the car hit the bridge. And see that top get scraped off. And there's a kid in the back seat in the video. It's a dash cam recording inside of I think it's a minivan. And the mom's driving, and there's a kid in the back seat. Like, what happened? You know, it's really pretty interesting. Quite a video. And then they go ahead and share the reverse out the back window of the dash cam as other cars try to avoid the debris. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. But, you know, I mean, it could be worse. Actually, that looks like a great problem to have compared to the previous frame. Let's see what we got here. Mike says hello. Welcome back to the show, Mike. Mike, I appreciate you helping me field some of the dispatching calls. More and more dispatchers are coming in, whether it's dispatchers that want to get more car haulers or car haulers looking to want to get dispatchers. But our dispatching network is growing steadily, slowly. But, you know, yeah, it really it takes a village and a community and an ecosystem, and I appreciate your help. I really do. Bulldog says green. EJ says Dookie Brown. Tommy says he saw that on Facebook. Jay Wilson says hello. Welcome to the show, Jay Wilson. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, yeah, you gotta check every strap, man. Right? Make sure that sucker's tight. Boom! Out goes the back window. Bummer, man. I mean, that just, you know. And then this is interesting. Now, I'm assuming it was loaded this way. I went ahead and fuzzed out the company name because I don't think that's required here. I think it was loaded that way. You know? Loaded one piece at a time. Sounds like a Johnny Cash song. One more piece at a time. Or maybe that's a Grateful Dead song. Great show. Thanks, Greco. Really appreciate that. I appreciate every like, share, comment, and subscription I get. So thank you so much. By the way, okay, so this was shared. I can't remember if this was a direct share or it was shared on Facebook. I think it was sent to me direct. That this was advertised as a roll and steer. Now, I believe that because I used to dispatch. And as a dispatcher, I had many start and lurch. Run and drive. Yeah, they were not even close. I mean, this is far, far, far from a roll and steer. This is more like I don't know. It's more like this is just straight up in-op is what this is. All right, counts as 2 cars. Yeah, it counts as 2 cars. That's right. Right, EJ's talking about this one, right? I'm sorry. I didn't know that we were moving 2 vehicles for you. That's right. You think that's easy? Right? Somebody booked this as easy peasy, sweet old lady. Yeah, I'm sure of it. Hey, can you do me a favor? No, I can't. Gotta love buybacks. Now I'm hauling them out of the collection yards. Man, there's just a sea of vehicles. I wonder if anybody will develop a technology to help me find my vehicle in the ocean of cars. Teaser? Maybe? Maybe. And let's see here. I do have another one. Let's see. Can we get to it? What do you say? What do you say? Okay, so let's do this. Let's close that. Let's go. Oh, okay, let's do this. Yeah, I wanted to share this. Let's see here. This is a media advisory. Hey, are you guys going to MATS 2019? If you are, we just got this email from Toby. Now, Toby helps coordinate at MATS. You can email him, and truckingshow.com is how you get to the MATS website. Anyways, Elaine Chao, the U.S. Secretary of Transportation, is going to be giving the keynote address at the 2019 Mid-America Trucking Show on Friday, March 29th at 1 o'clock in conference room B101. And so I'm definitely going to be there. I'm part of the press, and I want to help cover that. That should be really interesting. So I wanted to share that email. And also, leading into the show, great, we're at 8:22, so we're doing great on time, is this. Oh, wait, are we going to did I hit the wrong? Okay, wait, there's the show. Yeah, you know what? I had a hard time getting this picture. It's really weird. This car, if this ever loads. And it's a live show, anything can happen. But I saw this car with the craziest overhang. I don't know if there's something wrong with the image. Here, let's do this. Let's go ahead and close that out. And then let's try and relaunch. I don't know if it's going to... Here we go. How about this? How many times have you either seen this or tried this? Right? I mean, listen, you've got... Either you have a problem, or you might have a problem, or you're barking up the wrong tree. Maybe they'll let you get out the gate. Maybe they won't even let you get out the gate. If that was a new truck, I don't even know if they'd let you get out the gate. Or maybe just everybody looks the other way and you get home. And maybe you get through this trip. But not every state is going to let you get through, and not every scale is going to look the other way. In fact, I mean, I don't know. Listen, we're going to be talking about this because this is straight up overhang. And there's a lot of legal problems that can arrive in your direction quickly if you don't know the laws about this. And so that's what tonight's show is about. I'll probably come back to this picture. So I wanted to make sure it loaded. So here's what we're going to do. Before I just want to go into this. I want to remind you guys, before I go into the to the next material, we're going to Trucking Show. We're going to MATS 2019. If you're not already signed up, you can go to truckingshow.com. By the way, if you are going, check this out. You want to get the, here, let's do this. You want to get, and let's do that. Oh, booth 63201. That's where we're going to be. You want to get the, go to truckingshow.com, type in MATS Mobile. You want to get the MATS 2019 Trucking Show app. I got it, and you can easily see exhibitors, the booths, the descriptions. It's really easy, so you definitely want to check that out. So that's where we're going to be this week. We're leaving tomorrow. We're going to be there all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be doing live interviews and meeting as many people as possible, future affiliates, future channel sponsors, live interviews. It's really going to be quite a show. So really excited about it. And let's see. And that leads into, okay, so then in May 6th through 8th, check this out. The Auto Haulers Association of America. And you can go to autohaulersamerica.com. And if you click on, if you just go to the main page, you can go to, there's a link that you can click on about the AHA Spring Leadership Meeting. Okay? I'm going to show you where that link is. And so, if you go to their website and get the basic information, here you can click on Read More about the registration for the Spring Leadership Meeting. And this is a meeting May 6th through May 8th at the Atlanta Airport Marriott Gateway. And you go ahead and find out more about signing up. And I highly encourage you to do that because on Tuesday, May 7th, I am going to be part of a panel speaking about we're here to help the auto hauling community with auto transport intel, and Ty's going to be with me. We're also going to have a couple of strategic partners with us. We'll release that later, and that actually is brand new information. So check it out. Go to autohaulersamerica.com. So if you're skipping the Matt's show because this is all of trucking, well, this is going to be Auto Haulers. This is the auto hauling trade show, and you're going to want to be there for that. So I can't say enough great things about that. In a second, we're going to talk to Mike Matousek with OOIDA. And before we do that, listen, I need to do this. I'm gonna tell you about the CTS Business Coaching Question of the Day. And before I go any further here, we're going to switch up my camera. Okay, you can still see me there, so that when I do my Zoom meeting interview here in a few minutes with Mike, we got the right camera. But listen, if you need new car hauling coaching, if you need CTS transport business coaching, you want to talk to Ty one-on-one, should we get in the business? Is this the right truck? Is this the right trailer? You need recommendations. What do we do first? We get our insurance, do we get our authority? Or maybe you've already done all that and you're looking to build your business, expand, bring in a second truck. Maybe you want to know more about just your business in general. You need ctsbusinesscoaching.com. Talk to Ty. And here's the question of the day, all right? The CTS Business Coaching question of the day is, how much can you overhang? You saw that truck hanging off the trailer. Can you do that? How much can you do that? How many inches? How many feet do you get? By the way, what's the definition of an auto transporter? Do you actually know the definition? Do you fit in the definition? Does the definition cover the business that you have? You're going to be surprised at the answer. So you're going to want to stick around. Join me after the break. You're going to be with me and Mike Matousek with OOIDA Government Affairs. This is going to be quite an interview, so sharpen up your pencils and get ready to talk more about compliance and overhang. Stick around. Hey guys, Jay at Auto Transport Intel here. Listen, don't wait until it's too late to get FMCSA and DOT compliant. You need to take care of that right away. The best way to do that is to go visit my friend Brian Riker at Fleet Compliance Solutions. Now, you can go to Fleet Compliance Solutions LLC, or you can also visit him at YourDOTguy.com. And here he's got services to help you out, whether you're a single owner operator or a fleet. You can contact him and ask him you can get US DOT compliant, applying for your authority right off, or if you're going to be audited, you're going to need help. And he helps you make sure that you navigate the DOT and be fully compliant when you're going through your safety audit. Also, he can help out with safety training, coaching, OSHA, environmental concerns, help you protect your CDL. You can visit him and his staff. Go to fleetcompliancesolutions.net or YourDOTguy.com. Talk to Brian. If you need an expert witness, if you're going to end up in court over a problem, you're going to need some help, and he can help represent you. There are links here. Find out more about Fleet Compliance Solutions. And also, he's got articles and information. If you've got specific questions, you can contact him at 570-228-6210. And I highly encourage you to visit Fleet Compliance Solutions LLC, YourDOTguy.com. Tell him ATI sent you. Brian is a friend of the show. Thanks. All right, cool. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. And I now have with me here, I've got Mike Matousek from OOIDA. Mike, what's going on? Are you with me?
I am. Hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah, I can hear you great, yeah. Thanks so much for joining the show. And, I mean, we are ready to dive in deep, right, into compliance and overhang.
Absolutely. I enjoyed the first 30 minutes of your show and looking forward to talking about a pretty interesting overhang issue that we've been dealing with for a number of years.
All right. Tell me more. So tell me more about who you are, what you do, and then let's go into the overhang stuff.
Sure. My name's Mike Matousek. I'm the manager of government affairs at OOIDA. It's the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. We're headquartered in Green Valley, Missouri, which is just east of Kansas City, exit 24 off of I-70. We have about 160,000 members nationwide. And of course, where we're headquartered in Missouri, we have about 7,800 members. So work on all kinds of issues that are important to small business truckers. That's our focus. That's why we exist. And that's pretty much what we try and do every day. And There are dozens and dozens of issues, but this auto transporter one has been one of those that goes back to the March of 2015. So looking forward to talking about it.
All right, and so one of the things that I found interesting that it came up is the definition of an auto transporter. Is this in debate? What is an auto transporter?
This is exactly what the debate is about right now. This issue dates back to 1983. Congress at the time basically told the Federal Highway Administration to come up with some regulations for auto transporters. In 1984, the Federal Highway Administration completed step one of that. 1988 was another rulemaking that the agency completed. I read the authorizing statute. I read both the 1984 and 1988 rulemakings. Fast forward to 1996, the agency issued updated regulatory guidance. And I want to mention this, that in the authorizing statute, the federal statute, as well as the 1984 and 1988 rulemakings and the 1996 regulatory guidance, there was no provision in any of that that said to be considered a traditional auto transporter. So I'm not talking about the Stinger steered combination, but to be considered a traditional auto transporter, the power unit, i.e. the truck, must be capable of carrying cargo. That is what the agency said in 2004. We don't know where that came from. It was found nowhere in the statute. It was addressed somewhat in the regulations in the mid 80s. So, but that's really the issue that we've been working on, is what actually is considered a traditional auto transporter. And right now, what the federal government is saying is that your truck must be capable of carrying cargo. So if you have a truck without a head rack and you're pulling an 8-car high mount trailer, even though that combination of vehicles, or that combination, can haul nothing but automobiles, by federal, according to the Federal Highway Administration, you are not considered an automobile transporter. Thus, you are not eligible to use the permissible overhang.
Right, and so, I mean, okay, I want to ask the live chat. Live chat, did you just hear that? Half of the live chat, if not more than half of the live chat, just got excluded from the definition, the legal definition of an auto transporter. So that goes for 1 tons, right? If you drive anything other than
a
tractor with a head rack, right?
Correct. So if you have a any sort of commercial combination you have, if your truck is not capable of, if it doesn't have a head rack and you are operating with rear overhang, for example, so that's the problem. Overhang. So if your truck is not capable of carrying cargo or another vehicle, and you have the rear overhang on your trailer, you are technically operating illegally, according to the Federal Highway Administration.
Okay, so the FHWA, according to the FHWA, which is a division of the FMCSA, right?
Well, FHWA is another agency under the DOT umbrella, so it's FHWA is mostly highways and things like that, whereas FMCSA is motor carrier safety regulations. So, but it's a separate agency under the DOT umbrella, just like FMCSA is.
So, right, well, and DOT is under the FMCSA umbrella, and FHWA is under the DOT umbrella, and thereby, right?
Well, so you have DOT at the top. DOT is the umbrella.
Okay.
Under the DOT umbrella, you have FMCSA,
and next to
FHWA, and the Federal Aviation Administration, and other modal federal agencies.
Okay. All right. So the tip of the spear is the DOT.
Yes.
And below the tip of the spear, you have FHWA and FMCSA as sisters, but not in line.
Correct. Both of those agencies report directly to the Secretary of DOT, in this case, Elaine Chao.
Oh, and she's speaking at Matt's on Friday.
She is, yes.
Right, I was just talking about that. All right, so, and you're going to be at Matt's too, right?
I will be at Matt's. I actually get there tomorrow afternoon. We have OOIDA has a town hall meeting on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. It's open to OOIDA members. And then, of course, we have a couple of booths there, and we're very interested to see what Secretary Chow has to say on Friday. We kind of have an idea of what it might be, but I hate to speculate.
That's interesting.
Though it is
right.
kind of fun.
I'm getting, yeah, right, and that makes sense. I mean, you've got an idea of what she's going to say. Frankly, I don't know, and that's exciting, right? I don't know what she's going to say. Is it something? Is it gonna? Is there? Do you have a teaser for us? Is it like groundbreaking?
Well, we are hoping that we don't know this, but we are hoping that she's going to announce an hours of service reform rulemaking.
Oh, that's right. Hours of service.
Hours of service is what we're hoping she's going to announce. Basically, the next step in the regulatory process. As you recall, last year the agency docketed what they call an advanced notice of proposed rulemaking, an ANPRM. That's basically the beginning step in the regulatory process. The next step is to actually issue a notice of proposed rulemaking, which will be open for comments. But that is basically if, in fact, she announces some type of hours of service reform. We're hoping that she lays out exactly what kind of hours of service changes that the agency is going to propose. And but that's what we're expecting. That's what we're hoping for, I should say.
I like the way you talk about this information. You make legal information sound easier to absorb.
Well, I try. It's,
that's awesome.
The regulatory and legislative process is tricky, but we have a great team of people at OOIDA that know it pretty well and work together as best we can.
I mean, this is a big piece. This is a very important piece to have a large association with that many members and to be able to influence, because essentially, if at any level you want to make a real change, you've got to have legal understanding and legal maneuvering and ability to interact, understand the process. Just like, it's interesting, when we watch C-SPAN, okay, let's say there was, I'll just say Michael Cohen. When Michael Cohen was on C-SPAN, it drew a lot of attention. And you're watching and you hear, they say order, not just order, but there was there's like these terms that call attention to moments. And if you don't know the terms and how to, maneuver those moments, you just totally miss out on the process entirely.
Yeah, so I'm certainly not a legal expert, but I do know congressional procedures, House floor proceedings. I spent actually 8 years working. I worked on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. I worked in 2 congressional offices. My last 2 years in D.C. I spent on the House Transportation Committee. So, I'm not as familiar with the Senate, which is a whole new ballgame over there. But the House is, once you know it, you kind of don't forget it.
But that's really helpful because then in your day-to-day, obviously, you think of hours of service. What are other major issues that
There's a lot. So we're optimistic that this year or next year, Congress will actually take a look at some issues that we've been working on for a very long time, that many others have been working on. We'd love to see Congress, allocate some sort of dedicated funding to increase truck parking capacity.
Ooh, yeah.
That's a big issue in trucking, one that hasn't been addressed in a very long time. There's some interest on Capitol Hill to do something about that. Of course, hours of service reform is not a legislative issue at this point. Regulatory is, but it's still another big issue. A couple of issues we're watching. There's what we call an underride guard mandate proposal in Congress.
I saw that on Facebook.
And to kind of elaborate on that just a little bit,
please.
One of the things we work, it's a very tough issue, very emotional issue, but one of the things we do is we have to look at bills as they're written and figure out exactly who they apply to. And in this particular case, so if you're hauling, if you have a high mount trailer or you have a Stinger steered combination, right? There's no side. You can't go under the side of an of a car hauler. Yet this bill would require you to have a side underride guard as well as a rear underride guard, which just aren't on those types of trailers. So it's overly broad, has a lot of issues with it. We made some suggestions last year, but that's something that would impact all of trucking, regardless of what segment you're in.
And now, I mean, yeah, so if that passes, and by the way, before I say that, hey, Ty, welcome to the show. Can you see and hear us okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And by the way, I want to say this. Mike, I brought Ty in because, as you know, when we talked to you at the OOIDA building, is that Ty has got some hands-on experience with dealing with the legislation also, which is not something we can all say. So, that's rigorous, right? But before I say that, like for example, with the undercarriage, so if this passes and just there's no like adjustment and it just goes straight through the way it's written, does that mean every guy with a trailer is now going to have to start welding undercarriage sides onto his trailer?
Well, theoretically, there would be a long rulemaking process with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. They would have to actually develop side, front, and rear overhang, front, rear, and side underride guard standards. And then ultimately they would set an implementation date where the entire industry would have to be compliant. But to put it into perspective a little better, there's roughly, I want to say 10.5 or 11 million commercial motor vehicles. When you think about hot shots, straight trucks, tractor trailers, as of 2016, I think there were something like 10 or 11 million commercial motor vehicles that were above 10,000 pounds. The way the bill is written would require each and every single one of those vehicles to have a front, side, and rear underride guard. So think about that for a second. This would be the most expensive trucking mandate probably in history. You're talking about tens of billions of dollars.
Wow. I want to say this, and because I see a couple live chats coming in, and we all love to see passionate discussion. Is that I'm sometimes here to irritate people, but usually I just want to help spread the information. And the fact, if you're feeling a little irritated right now by some of this new information, that's actually better that you're irritated now than in 2 years when it's a done deal and you're at the scales and they're like, well, that'll be $50,000, and you can't leave until you weld the sides on.
Yeah, it's the bill is it's not the most well-written bill. It has several issues. It has several issues with it. We made some suggestions to the bill sponsors as well as the proponents that are pushing the bill last year. Our suggestions were basically ignored. Again, it's a very emotional issue for people who have been impacted, by an underride guard by an underriding a tractor trailer. So it is a tough issue without question. There may be a solution out there, but this just isn't it.
Yeah, what's frustrating is if you're able to dive back as soon as you hear about a bill, let's dive back and find out the lawsuit or reason why this was proposed. And it's usually a single incident involving a very passionate moment and a tragedy. I'm sure there was a tragedy associated to this inception. But the knee-jerk reactions that I think we see on a regular basis, and again the inability to navigate and participate in the process, ends up with these multi-fanged answers. And
and this bill probably has a long way to go. It's being talked about in DC. There was actually a demonstration today. So people in DC are taking it seriously. We, OOIDA, are taking it seriously. But it still
Good.
has a long way to go through the legislative process. It's not a mandate that exists now. It has to go through it's got a lot of hurdles to overcome, but something that we're watching very seriously. I mean, for example, I'm going to assume that, most wedge trailers and high mounts and, the Stinger steered combos, I'm going to assume that almost none of those would have that standard rear DOT bumper. Am I correct in assuming that?
Ty?
Say it one more time.
Yeah.
So the is it correct for me to assume that a lot of the wedge trailers and the high mounts and the Stinger steered combos, very few of those combinations are going to have the standard DOT bumper that you find on dry vans and reefers. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, you're not going to probably find any.
Which means there's no possibility. Essentially, I mean, I don't want to say it's impossible, but vehicles aren't going to go under the rear of a car hauler. They just don't, for the most part, as far as I know. Certainly could happen, but again, those trailers that we just talked about would be required to have a yet to be determined rear underride guard. So essentially an enhanced DOT bumper.
I think, in fact, in reality, I don't know if this requires animation and drawings, but in the bill, they should reference that if you hit a car hauler, rather than sliding under the car hauler, you're going to hit the rear car.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things we pointed out. How would you put some of these devices on flatbeds and lowboys and household goods trailers, bulk trailers, hazmat trailers? The list goes on and on and on, where it's just the proposed bill is a one-size-fits-all solution, as is so many things in trucking, unfortunately. It just doesn't work. But again, look, it's an issue in D.C. We're going to be involved with it, and I suspect many others will be as well. And so just one of many issues. Kind of the next question I would pose to people watching your program is speed limiters is a big issue. I wonder how many people listening to you and subscribers of your channel would be okay with the federal government mandating that trucks be speed limited at, say, 60 miles an hour or 63 miles an hour, even if you're out west where the speed limit's 70, 75, or 80 miles an hour. So most of our members don't want the government to mandate that they use some sort of speed limiting device. That's another issue we work on. Insurance minimums. Right now, the insurance minimums are $750,000 in liability coverage. There's been talk in Congress for years of bumping that up to, say, $4 or $5 million, and then twice that for hazmat. So that's another issue we're following right now that we're very concerned about. There's just a lot of stuff going on.
I can't help but think about when I first started to look into the ELD issue, OOIDA had been arguing against the implementation of ELDs for years. And so it's important to realize that while this may be in what seems like the distant future, if we do nothing, that distant future gets here faster.
Absolutely. The ELD fight is still ongoing, I'll add.
Right.
It was a tough fight. Went on for years and years and years. A lot of the things that we warned Congress and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration about are kind of, some of that is coming true. We're still seeing and hearing quite a few issues with it. Unfortunately, back in September of 2017, we had Congressman Brian Babin, who's a representative out of Texas.
Texas, yeah.
We referred to it as the Babin Amendment. That was kind of probably our best shot at some sort of delay or repeal of the ELD mandate. His amendment, he offered an amendment, I think it was to an appropriations bill. I can't remember exactly. It's been a while, but
yeah,
that amendment failed. Unfortunately, we kind of had our hopes in that. So that's still an issue out there. There's a lot of members of Congress that are interested in providing relief for certain segments of trucking from the ELD mandate. So anything's possible. I mean, that's certainly in play right now. The big thing, as I mentioned earlier, is hours of service reform. The key word I would use is flexibility. We're hoping that whatever FMCSA, if in fact they announce something related to hours of service at MATS on Friday, we want to make sure that whatever it is they're proposing provides the flexibility that drivers need, that would hopefully benefit everybody in trucking and not just one industry or another. Or not one segment of trucking or another.
Well, and you just made me think about, just as a tangent, to be involved within the technology of an ELD, as this thing continues to change, hopefully hours of service opens up a little bit. To be on the hook for the legal issues that come up at the scales with a driver and the officer's frustration with his ELD. Man, I mean, that could be very serious.
Absolutely. People just don't like them. There were some of the concerns early on were that because the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration wasn't certifying individual devices as compliant with the rule, there's probably people out there that have purchased an ELD, have some sort of subscription, whether it's a year, 2 years, that at some point in time, it's possible the federal government will determine that device may not actually comply with what's required in the federal regulations. So,
right,
that certainly could happen. We have some ongoing legal challenges to it, but and then again, I mentioned some members of Congress are still interested in providing relief from that. So it's still an issue. We're still involved, and just one of the many things we're working on.
Yeah. So wow. It is pretty fascinating. I mean, diving into the legal stuff, it's so important, and it's the stuff that really dings businesses. I mean, that's how you have a really bad day. Either hitting a bridge, or an officer slapping you with a giant fine. Those are bad days.
Absolutely. We take a deep dive into a lot of issues, and this auto transporter issue that we've been dealing with since March of 2015 has been interesting and bizarre, and it's been very frustrating to deal with. But looking forward to kind of getting into the weeds on some of that, and hopefully we don't lose too many people on that discussion, because there's a lot of it really boils down to what the definition is. There are words that when you take a close look at it, there's a big difference between may and shall. A lot of things that over the last 4 years we've gone back and forth with FHWA on, and some of their answers just quite simply didn't make sense. Finally found someone in the Trump administration in May of 2017 that we met with, and after about 10 minutes, he said, man, this is just, I don't understand what the issue here is. And he was able to get FHWA to actually docket a request for comments in September of that year. It was a 30-day comment period. We filed comments. You have a copy of all that stuff.
I'm going to bring that up.
Attachments.
Yep.
And then that closed in October of 2017. So roughly 16 months ago, that doc, or maybe more, almost 18 months ago, I should say, that comment period closed, and the agency hasn't done anything with it yet. So very frustrating.
Yeah, here's a copy of September 18, 2017. I think this is the correspondence you were referencing. And what's really neat, I want to say this too, is that you shared with me. So tell me, what is this page that you shared with me?
So that's on the docket itself. If anyone goes to regulations.gov, they can type in a docket number, and it actually pulls it up. In this case, I think it was FHWA-2017-0030. So if you go to regulations.gov and you type that docket number in, it will pull up. It'll pull up basically the docket, what the agency has posted, whether it's a request for comments, an advance notice of proposed rulemaking, a notice of proposed rulemaking, and other regulatory actions that an agency might take. So when you pull that up and when the comment period's open, there's a little comment now button. You can click that and you can file comments. Anybody can do it.
Wow, cool.
You can submit your comments anonymously. In this case, we of course didn't. So what you're seeing on that screen right now.
How do you comment? How would somebody comment?
Right. So if you actually go to regulations.gov and just the home page.
Okay.
Right there, you can type in a rule, basically a docket number, and so type in FHWA -2017 -0030.
Do I need the dashes in there?
I don't know if you need the dashes.
I
think you do. I always use the dashes.
Sure.
And then hit search.
Order in the court and all that stuff. All right. Definition of an automobile transporter. Yeah, that's
Click
the
on
docket.
that.
Okay.
And then so you can see there will be different documents in there that the agency posts, and there you can see all the comments on the left.
Comment
side.
now.
You can click comment now. So that closed a while ago. You can still submit comments probably, but
say like, "What's up, ecosystem?"
Well, yeah, exactly. So, and it's as easy as that. Your personal information is up to you. You can submit them anonymously, and plenty of people do.
That's awesome, man. This is great. Hey
Jay.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Yeah, go. What we can say.
Go back to the definition and read it for the audience real quick.
Okay, I like that. Definition of an automobile transporter. Okay, here we go. Should I just read this part, this document well? Okay.
So you can probably scroll down just a little bit,
Yeah.
and there will be basically that first paragraph in the background section, the first paragraph or two, should actually include the definition somewhere.
If a vehicle is classified as an automobile transporter, should I start there?
No, start the first paragraph.
All right. Federal laws and regulations pertaining to vehicles that are classified as automobile transporters and providing for a minimum vehicle length and allowable overhang lengths for these configurations support the safe and efficient movement of autos by truck through states and across state lines. In accordance with 49 U.S.C. 3111 et set. And 23 CFR 658.5, the term automobile transporter means any vehicle combination designed and used for the transport of assembled highway vehicles, including truck camper units. Okay, for assembled highway vehicles, including truck camper units. Boy, that doesn't seem to include everything in my mind. Okay, federal regulations classify automobile transporters as specialized equipment and identify 3 possible configurations of automobile transporters: traditional, lowboys, and the Stinger steered. 23 CFR 658.13. And the definition of a tractor or truck tractor at 23 CFR. Automobile transporters may carry vehicles on the power unit, behind the cab, and on and over cab rack. Like you just said, there's a may, not a shall, and that's not shall.
Correct. There's a big difference between may and shall, and I want to point out a couple other things in that section right there. If you actually look back to the rulemakings in the 1980s, you'll notice in there that they do talk about lowboys, and what FHWA said at the time was basically that lowboys offer productivity and safety advantages, and therefore, if they are in fact hauling automobiles, that a truck and a lowboy is considered an auto transporter and thus allowed to have the applicable overhang. What the agency has since said, and I wish I had this in writing, but I don't, is essentially what they're saying is that now for a lowboy to be considered an auto transporter, the power unit would have to be capable of carrying cargo, which is mind-boggling to think of. I really haven't seen a truck with a head rack pulling a lowboy trailer. I don't know how you would get the vehicle onto the head rack of the truck using a lowboy trailer. You'd have to basically lift it up there with a crane to get it on and off.
I mean, even
unless there's another...
even a 4-car with a flipper, it's not on the head rack. Head rack has nothing to do with so many configurations.
Correct. In that picture right there, that's actually a member of ours, I believe a member of ours that sent us that picture. That's their tractor-trailer combination right there. That is illegal or not in compliance.
Because of the overhang back here?
Because of the overhang, because that truck is not capable of carrying cargo. What's even more bizarre is what FHWA has said is the truck just has to be capable of carrying a vehicle. It doesn't actually have to be carrying one. So if you mounted a head rack on that truck...
Right, that's right.
If you didn't have one on it, you're still capable. So you would be classified as an auto transporter. The question I then asked FHWA was, well, who makes a determination if a head rack is actually capable, right? So could you just put 2 tracks up there that are just loosely bolted to, that realistically couldn't actually accommodate a vehicle? And then they said, well, that would be subject to roadside enforcement, which provides, that's not the answer we were looking for.
Right.
Another thing that the agency was hung up on, and going back to that definition, designed and used for the transport of assembled highway vehicles. So what they're saying, what the agency has said is that truck in that picture that you just showed, because you can actually unhook it from the high mount trailer and pull a dry van, a reefer trailer, a flatbed, whatever, that vehicle, that combination is not designed and used specifically for the transport of highway vehicles. So, which, let me put it to you in other words, the point, let me say this, the point I made to them was, if you had a truck with a fifth wheel that had a head rack, you could still unhook that truck from a high mount trailer and pull any other trailer that hooks to a fifth wheel. So then they, I think they picked up on that, and I haven't really heard them mention that since, because their original argument just didn't make much sense. But that definition that you had up on the screen earlier, that's really the focus of this whole issue.
Does this get back into the question of, have any of the people making these rules ever been near a truck?
I don't think so. I really don't. And again, when I asked the agency in 2004, and there's a copy of that in those in our comments, in 2004, there's a phrase that the agency included or added to their 2004 regulatory guidance. And that phrase in there basically says, to be considered an automobile transporter, the power unit must be capable of carrying cargo. That phrase is not found anywhere in the 1990s. So if you go to page, I think, 5 of the document. So you see that third paragraph down?
Let's see here.
Towards the bottom of the page.
I want to zoom in.
The actual, in the text, not the chart.
Okay. It's not moving. My document's not moving.
No, scroll down just a couple more paragraphs.
Oh, there we go.
Towards the bottom of that page.
There we go. All right. States must allow.
Keep going.
Keep going. Okay, let's go to the next.
Right there.
Oh, okay.
Right there.
Right back. Okay, right. I got it. I'm going in, and I'm going in. I'm scrolling. Okay, so states must allow or to qualify as automobile.
No, it's to qualify.
That paragraph.
Okay, to qualify as automobile and boat transporters under 23 CFR 658.13. I'm getting used to this. Both conventional and stinger-steered vehicles must be capable of carrying cargo on the power unit. I mean, that means everybody.
Correct. And so keep in mind, this was from 2004. That phrase and that requirement is not found in anything else that predates this. The agency had no explanation for where that phrase came from, why it was added, what the issue was.
An intern just got it. Then the intern took it down wrong, right?
Anything is possible.
Oh, man.
But if you go back to that same section in the 1996 guidance, if you want to pull that page up,
this is wild.
You won't find it in there.
Okay, so here's 96. That was 04. So now we're going to go to 96. Let's see here. Similar kind of... Man, this is just... Yeah.
Right there. I think you just passed it.
Okay, so let's... Oh, okay, it's over here. Over here. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, let's see here. Let's do this. Okay.
Automobile and boat transporters may carry cargo on the power unit.
May carry cargo. In 96 it was may. In 2004 it was...
Must.
What's up? Wow. That is fascinating.
And if you go back to the 96 guidance, I think I haven't looked at it in a while, but scroll down to the next page to the diagrams.
Yeah.
And so you'll see that has the conventional auto transporter combination has a vehicle on a head rack. In my opinion, based on the regulations, and if you actually read through that, having one vehicle on the head rack was essentially a limitation or an allowance, however you want to look at it, basically saying that you couldn't have more than one. This was addressed in the Teamsters, actually, in their comments, raised this issue. This goes back 30 years. But I think if you scroll down just a little bit more, maybe zoom out, I'm not sure what other diagrams are there. There should be a boat transporter.
That's a boat transporter next to it.
Not the Stinger steered one.
All right.
A conventional boat transporter combination, right?
Yeah, we got it here. Yeah.
It has overhang, correct?
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the power unit depicts nothing with a head rack or anything.
Aha.
So, and now the agency is saying that diagram with the conventional boat transporter, what they actually depict there in 1996 is currently illegal.
This is crazy. This is so
Can you get
weird.
the Mueller report on that?
This is, by the way, this is kind of like, there's already shows where everybody can see what's obvious, and what we're talking about right here. I mean, this is so strange. I mean, there's probably somebody at a scale house right now trying to have this argument, but they don't have all the documents and their briefcase, and it's in one of the cars. I mean, how do you? And even if you can argue this at a scale house, can you still get through? Because, I mean, the law is the law. That's what, I'll tell you what, honestly, that's what I hate about folks. Oh, the law is the law. Well, okay, yeah, I mean, I know we're a country of laws, but we seem to also be a country of some weird laws.
Yeah, I don't really know how much this is enforced. We first caught wind of it back in March of 2015. We had a member of ours from Arkansas that operated up into Missouri quite a bit. And for whatever reason, at that point, Missouri, and even within Missouri, only a couple of scale houses that I know of started enforcing this. And then we heard of a couple other states. I think Wisconsin was a big one. But again, only certain scale houses. This is a very bizarre issue. I've never heard one person at FHWA or in the industry or in enforcement tell me that what we're actually asking for, what used to be long-standing regulation, nobody said that was unsafe, right? So if you can have rear overhang on a Stinger steered combo or rear overhang when your power unit has a head rack pulling a high mount, why all of a sudden would it not be safe to have that same rear overhang on a combination without a head rack? The answer is it's not unsafe. If it's safe for one, it's safe for all. But they're still hung up. I don't know if it's I don't know why the agency is so hung up on this issue, why they won't make this change. There was there are so few federal rulemakings or dockets, however you want to call it, that are non-controversial, so to speak. There's always someone filing comments in support and opposition. This request for comments, virtually everybody that filed comments was supportive of FHWA clarifying this issue, and they have yet to do that. So it's been bizarre.
That is bizarre. And I was just gonna say is, yeah, I mean, who are the holdouts, and under what rock do they live?
That's a good question. I wish I knew. We were optimistic when we didn't really get anywhere, and this is not a partisan attack by any means. We struggled with the Obama administration for about a year and a half or longer. Couldn't get any traction on it. Basically, I remember one of our first calls with them, FHWA had probably a dozen people on the line from their side with lawyers and policy advisors and government affairs staff, just looking for any reason to tell us why we were wrong, even when we confronted them with all that information that we eventually included in our comments. And then, the Trump administration came in. It took us a while to establish a contact there. We were very excited when we got word that they were going to docket this issue and actually consider a change. And but we've been waiting now for almost 18 months, and it's frustrating to actually be pretty close on an issue that really shouldn't be an issue. It's just been hard to and look, as hard as it is for us, for example. I mean, it's the real impact is for people who are caught up in this. We had a member of ours going through the scale house in Odessa, just east of our headquarters on I-70, had the overhang, wasn't supposed to have it apparently. Enforcement actually made him take the car off the trailer, and he had to call someone in to get that car just to continue down the road, and probably lost money on the load.
Oh, most assuredly. All kinds. He lost a lot, money, sanity, all kinds of stuff.
Yep, and it just makes no sense. So,
Ty, while we're here talking, Missouri is a good segue. What was it that brought? You were telling me a story. We were hanging out. And you were talking about you had an interaction with Missouri and legal issues, and you were also brushing up Mike on those topics when we met with him. What legal landfill did you find yourself in?
Well, it all starts, and Mike, he's kind of referencing it. Starts with the guys that are out here on the road and they get pulled in and get the $150 ticket, told they got to unload it, have somebody come and get it. So it starts with anger, right? In my opinion. Yeah. I'm mad because I read this law and I can't understand it either. And I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a lawmaker. I'm just out here hauling cars to make money. So what happened was I got pretty upset and ended up at Jeff City. And some of my homework that I figured out, and Mike, I'm sure already knows this, but we were able to, once I started telling the Missouri people, federal law says shall be no less than, right? So where they were trying to say, well, you got to be 65 feet. This was before we even got to the overhang problem. Well, federal law says shall be no less than, right, Mike?
Yes.
Yeah. So then once we figured out we were okay on our length, overall, combination tractor trailer, we're under 75 or 75. Now why are we not a car hauler or an automobile transporter? But one of the things I found out was as soon as Missouri thought they could or might maybe lose federal funding, they were happy to pay attention. So I don't know how that works in other states, but I do know as soon as they thought they might not be in compliance with federal law, they started listening really well.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That was actually in 2017. The Federal Highway Administration, as I understand it, basically informed Missouri, the Missouri Department of Transportation, that the state was not in compliance with federal regulations for auto transporters. The Federal Highway Administration basically urged, or maybe that's not strong enough of a word, but basically got the Missouri state legislature to effectively adopt the federal regulations. So if you look at Missouri state law right now, they now have that provision to be considered an automobile transporter. The power unit must be capable of carrying cargo in state law. The state lawmaker that actually got that done didn't want to do it. The Missouri Department of Transportation, at least at the time, was not, really didn't care. They didn't see an issue. Missouri Highway Patrol, as far as I know, the Commercial Motor Vehicle Enforcement, really had no issue with what we were asking, but they basically said that's what the federal government's telling us, so that's what we have to do. We did get a commitment. The state representative was Bart Corman. Got a commitment from him back then, and actually saw him earlier this year and brought it up again, that if in fact FHWA clarifies their position in our favor, then he'll be the first one to go back and change Missouri state law and undo what they just did in 2017. So it just adds to the bizarre nature of this whole issue.
Right, the snowball effect is awful.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
The other part about it is, again, it's, and this is what Mike and I were talking about. I said, you really want to rattle some cages, go talk to the guys that are building these trailers and selling them to us.
Absolutely. They're basically selling trailers that are designed to accommodate, 6, 7, 8 vehicles using overhang that really, in some states aren't really compliant. So we've reached out to them. There's, again, there's just no opposition to what we've asked for. That picture that you pulled up that we submitted in our comments, to me, I don't know if that's not an auto transporter. I don't know what else it would be. So, it can't haul that trailer. What else can that trailer haul? I don't know. Can it haul something else?
Maybe. I'm sure somebody could figure out something to put on it, but we'll just use it as for cars. It's the frustrating thing. There's so many guys that deal with, we deal with enough. And then
no kidding.
You look at this picture and I look at this load and I think, I've hauled a lot of cars. That guy did a good job loading that, right?
Right.
I'm proud of the load.
No kidding.
It took me a little time. I got it on there. Nothing's touching. Everything's safe. Now I'm going to get a ticket because of that on the back and that on the front.
And keep in mind, that photo you're looking at, the agency's justification is, at the time, they said that vehicle combination is not designed and used specifically to haul automobiles because you can unhook the truck and haul anything else. And I, again, made the point that, yes, even if that truck had a headrack, it could still pull other trailers. Going back to the 1988 rule, there's actually the section in lowboys where they talk about lowboys in 1988. They addressed this issue, and I think Georgia State DOT actually brought it up and said, okay, if we have a truck pulling a lowboy that's hauling automobiles, is that an automobile transporter? And what the agency said at the time was, if it's hauling cars, yes, it's an automobile transporter. If it's not hauling cars, then it is not an automobile transporter. So that picture we're looking at right now, my argument was that is clearly an auto transporter. If that trailer was capable of carrying something else, and if in fact it was carrying some kind of general freight, then no, it would not be an auto transporter. But that issue again was addressed in 1988. It's clear as day. There's no, you can interpret a lot of things differently, but that issue, the way it was addressed in 1988, there's no other way to interpret it.
Oh, Jay, I think I just figured out who's behind all this.
What? Who?
Cox. Cox Automotive. Cox is the one that's doing this.
Oh.
Central Dispatch is behind all this. It's got to be.
Oh my gosh.
Joke.
Exactly. Spoiler alert. It was a joke. It was all.
It's an inside joke, Mike. Sorry.
Yeah. Well.
Hey, look, we asked the agency, why'd they include that provision in the 2004 guidance? They didn't know. They didn't know where it came from. We thought when they filed the request, when they docketed the request for comments, we thought, okay, now we're going to find out who actually supports that provision. Because surely we thought somebody would file comments in opposition to what we requested. And that just didn't show up. There were no comments in opposition to it. We thought, we didn't know. We still don't know where it came from. We're not aware of any opposition to it. CVSA, as far as I know, has no concerns with this. The Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance, so law enforcement, none of the quote unquote safety advocates or safety groups filed any comments in opposition to it. So, the only people that appear that seem to be opposed to making a clarification is FHWA itself.
So, yeah, this is weird. Yeah, right. There's the protest march. We agree. Like, if ever, is this is there a business deal that we don't know about?
This issue should be relatively easy for the Federal Highway Administration to address. There's no safety issue here at all. No opposition to it. They, in my opinion, and I'm probably oversimplifying it, but because that phrase is not found in the authorizing statute from 1983, it's not found in the rulemaking from 1984 or 1988. It wasn't even in the 1996 regulatory guidance. All they would have to do, in my opinion, is basically update their regulatory guidance on this issue and delete that phrase. That, in my opinion, would solve this issue and essentially revert back to the way things used to be prior to 2004.
It seems it does. I like your proposal, and your research and knowledge on this topic is very in depth. And I mean, if it wasn't causing so many problems, maybe it could just kind of linger and be like some kind of benign tumor. But this is not a benign tumor. This can cost you a serious issue. And Ty, this personally, that's what got you involved. The anger of facing a serious problem that's affecting your livelihood. Why?
Well, I think the problem that I really have, and I think most, and Mike would probably agree with this, it's a law is a law, but when you give the discretion to the officer,
right,
that's when things really start going bad, in my opinion. And it's like, okay, look, there's 4 of us here on a live panel. We can talk about it. I might have a different interpretation, Mike might, but you put a DOT guy on this panel, it's terrible. Bad day for everybody, in my opinion. So why are we giving these guys discretion for anything?
What I also can't figure out is the regulatory guidance, which is essentially the agent's, it's regulatory guidance is FHWA's interpretation of the regulations. So it doesn't have the force of law in some respect, but it does. It effectively does. It's their interpretation of their regulations. Again, that was done in 2004. We didn't hear about this issue until 2015, so 11 years later. I can't imagine that 11 years went by. I can't figure out why it took 11 years for us to hear about this. So, in my opinion, something happened where states caught wind of this, realized, oh man, we can start enforcing this and start fining people, and maybe it was a revenue generator.
Totally.
That's all I can figure, because as far as we know, the members of ours that brought this to our attention never had an issue with this until 2015. So something happened at that point when a couple of states started enforcing it.
By the way, we now have Brian Riker from Fleet Compliance Solutions, YourDOTguy.com. Brian is with us. Brian, welcome to Auto Transport Intel tonight.
Thank you, Jay. Nice to see you again, Ty. Nice to see you, Mike. How is everybody?
Hello.
And that Brian is also going to be at Matt's. He's got to get up really early tomorrow, so I wanted to Brian, I wanted to add you to the show as soon as I could. And I know, that's the thing about when you dive into this legal material. I mean, it's it takes a long time to digest it. It's right. You know that you do it every day.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take anything away from what Mike has to say. He has some very good information on this topic. Mike and I have spoke on the phone before. I don't know if you remember me, but I'm one of your members. But we've spoke about this exact issue with Overhang and how crazy it is that it is just a regulatory interpretation that is causing all this problem. And yes, you have excellent information tonight on it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was not an issue I ever thought I'd be working on until we started digging into it. And next thing you know, I'm looking at regulations that are 35 years old.
And
yes.
And Brian, you are working with clients that are trying to resolve issues like this. That's got to be frustrating, complicated at all.
Absolutely, because we have the federal guidance as to what the regulation means. We have the actual regulation, and then we have states that have not fully adopted the provisions of the FAST Act from a couple years ago when we're dealing with Stinger steer vehicles. We have states that have different interpretations for our folks with the pickup truck and wedge trailers that want to consider them truck-trailer combinations, which have a whole different overall length limit than a traditional tractor-trailer combination. We have some states that allow overhang on high mounts, but again, on state highways, maybe not necessarily on interstate or national network highways. It's a patchwork of regulation across the country, and for the long-haul auto transporter engaged in interstate commerce, it makes it almost impossible to be compliant everywhere on their route.
Yeah, and some states are, in general, a little dicier than other states, right? I mean, it seems like it's common knowledge. We'll keep track of whether it's a scale house or a state or a port of entry or just one specific officer.
Absolutely. Near my hometown, I'm in Pennsylvania, but I worked in New York quite often, up in Orange County and Ulster County, New York. New York State Motor Carrier Enforcement loves to come down hard on tow trucks, auto transporters. They aren't necessarily enforcing the regulations exactly as written. They have some officers with their own interpretation. Then we get down into Florida, where if you have a high mount car hauler, you're limited by Florida statute to 50 foot without buying their overlength permit. But you can buy a permit, and now you're allowed to have overhang. You're allowed to exceed a 50-foot trailer. And there's not supposed to be a restriction on a trailer from 53 foot under or over 53 foot or less on the national network. But states like Florida still try to enforce these permits and these regulations.
And this stuff is brutal. You're a new car hauler business. You are really trying to do your best, and then you end up in a situation where you're being cited, scripture and verse, that you needed to already know this. It's already too late. Man, it's brutal.
It is, and not every state has great resources. Some states like Maryland and Pennsylvania have trucker handbooks that clearly explain a lot of this stuff, but other states, North Carolina for one, they don't have any official published document from the state that helps you understand this. So now you're on your own to research the legislation, read it, make an interpretation, or find somebody or an organization like OOIDA or Auto Haulers of America or Independent Auto Transporter Alliance, find a organization like that that can help you with this guidance.
I was going to say, how do you tackle, there must be, there could be 100 individual items with this level of severity. How do you stand a chance to, like in grade school, we learned the food pyramid. You got your milk and your bread and your dairy and your veggies. How do we begin to help with these pieces of legislation, this giant Giza pyramid of legislation?
We join, and we're active participants in our state trucking associations, our national associations, groups such as OOIDA or AHA or IATA that are here for the small business trucker, the independent auto transporter. That's the only way you get any type of help, is you join groups and you support them, you work with them, you work with the trade associations. They put great information out, and they jump on and help on issues like this when we realize there's a problem.
Pretty good answer. That is a good point. Well, thank goodness there are these organizations, right?
Yes, and
look how that comes
absolutely.
back around, right? I mean, really, this is an amazingly good way of proving the value of having associations and organizations in your corner.
Absolutely, and I don't want to take away from what I do, because it's how I make my living as a consultant, but you don't necessarily need to pay a consultant hundreds of dollars to get an answer when you can pay a $45 membership due to an organization like OOIDA, or I think it's $250 or something to IATA, and have access to these same experts in their compliance department. And I don't want to sound like just a plug for trade associations, but I'm a huge supporter of trade associations. I sit on the board on several of them that are focused on different subsegments of the industry. And between that and independent consultants such as myself, that's how you deal with this. You don't just go at it blindly. You ask before you do something. Hey, what do I need to know about doing this type of work? Or I'm going out west for a change, and I've never been west of the Mississippi River. What do I need to know? What do the states look at differently out there?
What's a good way for an average working hauler to stay abreast of these, this litany of issues? Is there a menu somewhere where they can, okay, this week I'm going to listen to Overhang, and then next week I'm going to listen to, HOS. Are there resources that drivers can tap into and get this material?
There are some resources. Most trade associations have training programs in-house. I'm working on a project, but it's not ready to be released yet, for a guidance book specifically for auto transporters with what the regulations are on a state-by-state basis, but that's months out. Associations do have information available. The internet is your best friend. Search trucking regulations or auto transport regulations for the state you're going to go in, and you might find some information. Other resources would be networking with fellow transporters. Instead of making this a dog-eat-dog world,
amen.
Talk to other owners and a good dispatcher. If you have a good dispatching service, they should be fully aware of the regulations and not building you loads for your truck that are going to get you in trouble on the route you're at.
And
I know, I make it go nuts.
Right, no, but I love what you said. What if a dispatcher, and this is really, this is my story right here. I thought my job was to find gold bars on the load board. But what ended up happening is I kept getting dragged into problems and learning Overhang the hard way, and talking to that guy. That guy said it's a run and drive, and that it's a lump of metal in the dirt. It's far from a run and drive. Learning these problems firsthand, that's how a dispatcher gets pulled into the information side. And I was going to ask Mike this. Mike, so at OOIDA, do you have resources that maybe members and or non-members can access in relation to these individual issues?
Yeah. So we have what we call a business services department. Within our business services department, there's a regulatory department, permits and licensing. Basically, people that are, a lot of them are former or current truckers. In some case, know the regulations inside and out. Can answer all types of questions that you might have. That's a member benefit of joining OOIDA. Another resource we have that I think is pretty much open to anybody, we have what we call the OOIDA Foundation, which is our research and education arm. If you go to their website, you can go to OOIDA.com. On our homepage, there is a link to the OOIDA Foundation. If you click on that, it'll bring up, I don't know if there's anything specific to auto transporters, but there's a series of online classes that they basically have done and created that I think a lot of people find helpful. So at the top of that page, you'll see the OOIDA Foundation or OOIDA Online Education. I think either of those links would work.
Great, yeah, I know that there is, the OOIDA Business Education. I was looking it up on YouTube. There's an OOIDA Business Education YouTube channel in addition to the OOIDA channel. It seemed like the Business Education, did have quite a few videos. But there's so many issues. I can't help but think maybe periodically this is something we can come back to, where since drivers are driving, right, they just hit that 1 hour audio video session and just absorb the information. Maybe some of those pieces of information can help really improve a randomly bad situation. And
I think they can. I've watched several of the videos myself. I'm fortunate enough to where, because I work at OOIDA, I can walk down the hall and talk to the in-house experts that we have on a regular basis. So I don't necessarily, I have it a little bit easier, I guess, to find it because I can walk down the hall. But one of the things I have on my desk is a copy of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, the FMCSRs as we call them. It's a phone book size book with phone book style writing, the small font, hundreds and hundreds of pages of regulations. So, it's very difficult to be compliant with all of the regulations out there. Those are just federal regulations. Then you lump in the state and local issues. It's just a regulatory compliance minefield out there.
Sounds like an incredible bedtime story.
It could be.
And then you've got, found this too. This was interesting. There was an article, and again, September 2017. And this is one of the things I find I like about Landline Magazine. Really helps reinforce the information that, like you were talking about. I mean, here's the information, and this is bringing it to the drivers that are reading more of a resource that reaches them in their trucks, right? So.
And that's very important, Jay, is we need to stay current. We need to read the news and the intel that is out there. And to expand upon Mike's point about the FMCSRs, I think it's almost 800 pages is what part 300 to 399 is. You have a condensed version in the little green book. You get a trucking orientation. If we pay attention to the regulations, we as drivers are supposed to be familiar with and aware of every one of those regulations, and so are motor carriers. But I don't know but a handful of drivers that actually sat there with a little green book and read it cover to cover. And I wouldn't expect you to. It doesn't read like a novel. It's very boring reference material. However, you are supposed to be familiar with all those regulations, and it's almost impossible to remember them all. As a 30-year compliance guy, I forget stuff sometimes, and I have to go back to my reference daily to make sure I'm getting it right. So I don't expect a truck driver who has a lot of other stuff on his mind to remember all of these.
Can you have you read Shakespeare? Like, right? Like when you read like original Shakespeare, Shakespeare's a genius, but it's tough to read. This is hard.
Yes.
Here's the problem I've got, Brian. I mean, we can all know it, but when we get pulled into the weigh station and you got Joe Donut Bangwang trying to explain his definition and his interpretation of a law that you don't even know anything about, you're walking out with a fine.
Oh, man.
Absolutely. Now
How do you know all the laws? Because you're putting the discretion to the officer to interpret the law how he wants to, and you're not going to win that argument. I've tried.
No, and the scale house is not the place to have an argument with a motor carrier enforcement officer. That's what the courthouse is for. Some are a little more understanding than others, and they realize they don't know everything either. So if you can point it out to them in black and white, it helps. Now, that said, I myself have been put out of service when I was driving for not having my previous 7 days logged with me when I didn't need them because I was running short haul exemption. Eventually it went to the court. It was dismissed because I proved the officer was wrong. It happens. And a lot of these officers, they have the CVSA guidebook for out of service criteria, and that's the only thing they really committed to memory. The rest of these regulations, they're looking it up and trying to get it right, but they don't always. And again, yes, the scale house is not the place to have the argument. That's what the courthouse is for. Unfortunately, it costs you a small fortune when you have to challenge a citation, but that's cost of doing business. It shouldn't be, but it is. That's the reality we're in today.
I think the reality we're in today is that we've got a great show like ATI where we can bring cool guys like Mike and Brian on, and we can rattle some real cages now, get everybody fired up.
Sure.
That's what I'm talking about.
I appreciate it. And that's the thing is that, I mean, you know what's cool is it seems to me that I don't have to try very hard to point out the fact that, I mean, ongoing education, it's a no-brainer. I mean, we really do need it every day, every other day, every hour, every 5 minutes. You know, and it's interesting. I believe that's the purpose of media, even entertainment media. We get something out of it. And whether you're listening to music, movies, TV, reading books, reading a magazine, it's everywhere. And some of the media that really helps us in business is niche media that speaks to us, remains current, and presents us with, you know, experts and the information they're focused on that can dive into laws. Everything comes back to the lawyers, and it's very hard material to access, absorb, and understand. And I'm thankful not every show I do is about legal information. But I got to tell you, for having built this show around the legal information and the DOT, I think it's been riveting.
I would agree, but this is my specialty.
And to your point about, you know, just finding some of these regulations is extremely difficult. When we started looking at this auto transporter issue, it took me, I think, a couple of weeks to actually find the 1984 and 1988 rulemaking. It's not like I don't recall it being as easy as just Googling it. You actually had to go to some archived website. I didn't even know any of it existed. I had to. There were multiple ways I found it, but it took a while just to find regulations that were, you know, 35 years old.
You're absolutely correct, Mike. Only the current stuff is easily available, and even there, you have to look at the notes at the bottom and see what it supersedes and follow the paper trail. It isn't as easy as I made it sound before. You're right, but it is very complicated to know all of this stuff inside and out, and that is something that we can't expect the average truck driver to know. I would love to see the administration actually follow through with their promise and revise our regulations, simplify them, even just consolidate regulations so that they're all in one code and we're not looking in different sections of federal law to find the information we need, because not everything is consolidated under 49 CFR either. We have some under 23. We have some in other parts because they were put in place as a budget measure here or some other measure that turned it into a law, and it doesn't make it easy for us to figure it out.
You're exactly right.
It's kind of like dropping off at a dealership. It just isn't that straightforward.
Exactly, Jay. And
I'm here for the analogies. Thank you so much. By the way, I'm going to take this moment. I thank you guys for joining me tonight. First of all, I want to start and say that all of you, I asked all of you if you could be contacted later after the show, after we drudged up the mud. You know, now the water's so murky, there's questions, there's concerns. So if somebody has a question for you, Mike, they can email you. Is that right? And I'm gonna type it. It's Mike _ and I got your card right here. MATOUSEK at OOIDA.com.
Yes,
right?
sir. They can email me or they can call the OOIDA main line and just ask for me, or they can ask for my extension, which is 1603. More than happy to talk about this issue with anybody that wants to look at it deeper and, take time to read the comments that we filed along with the 9 or 10 attachments, whatever it was, or any other issue for that matter. I talked to a lot of our members, a lot of non-members, more than happy to talk about anything that we're doing, or, and to be quite honest with you, a lot of the stuff we work on are issues that we hear about from truckers. I would have never known or heard about this particular overhang issue had someone not contacted me that had basically been given a citation for. So I mean, that's how we hear things, is from people on the road.
Well, it's interesting, and you made me think that actually industry news, because it's kind of a ridiculous segment that I do in the beginning of the show, but there are actual news comes out of Facebook memes and photos and stuff, and that's why I do that segment. Now, that random social media news actually turns into real news. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
so I welcome anybody
thought?
that wants to email or call is more than welcome to.
So that's great. Okay, good. So there's Mike's email address. There's the phone number for OOIDA. Brian.Riker at Fleet Compliance Solutions.net.
Yes, sir.
All right. So there is Brian's email address. And because if you're in a situation where you could use some straight advice and you need it soon, you can email Brian, right?
I'm happy to give basic consultations for free, answer a simple question, and I'm not just a compliance guy. I'm not just a safety critter from your office. I have a valid Class A CDL. I have 27 years in the auto transport and towing industry. In fact, I'm leaving tomorrow morning to take a truck out via the Mid-America Truck Show to Arkansas to deliver to one of my customers. I sell car haulers and tow trucks as a side business, so I'm still out there every day. I still drive. I still do this, but I've chosen to take my skills that not everybody has and work as a compliance consultant and give you the perspective from someone who's been there, done that, and can understand the issue you're dealing with, very similar to the people in the business services division over at OOIDA.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that means a lot. I love the fact that, I mean, you are behind the wheel. You understand the driver.
Yes.
That's a really big part of this. And I want to thank you, Ty, of course. I see you all the time. We talk all the time. And I'm going to share your email address, Ty at ctsbusinesscoaching.com. And I know that you actually answer your phone. What's your phone number again? 417
483 2764.
2764. All right. So you can call Ty if you've got a question, if you want to rattle a cage, if your cage is rattled. Or
if you got a lot of anger, call me.
Or if you want to get in this business and get your cage rattled, give Ty a call.
Hey, we should go ahead while we got Brian here and go ahead and make it real official. But Brian is a part of our starter kit,
That's
right?
right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Brian. You're amazing.
You're
man.
welcome.
I love
Thank you. I try.
I love having you here. You saved me a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ty. And you make my phone ring, so I appreciate it too.
That's awesome. And so, listen, if you don't know what's going on, if you just tuned in, we've been talking about compliance and overhang, and what Ty is saying is that Brian and Fleet Compliance Solutions, YourDOTguy.com, is now in the CTS Business Coaching Starter Kit, where if you have compliance questions and you're talking to Ty, Ty's going to send you over to Brian, and now you've got to meet Brian officially once again. And Brian, you've been on this show before, but as we know, this show's grown a lot more, and that was probably a year ago, I think.
I can't remember. I've been on your show 2 or 3 times in the last year, but yeah. You're up there, and congratulations on breaking the 5,000 mark on subscribers.
Thank you.
You're doing great.
Man, it feels that way. I appreciate it. I mean, I got Mike from OOIDA here. We're going to Matt's tomorrow, and then we're going to AHA in May to talk. This is getting insane.
Yes, I'll be by your booth a couple of times during the weekend here. I can't tell you exactly when because I have some meetings and so much else to do there, but I will be by sometime. And I have my email on my phone, so if someone wants to meet up with me at Matt's, just send me a message and I'll do my best to accommodate you.
All right. Well, listen, I hope to see, I know I'm going to see all three of you guys. I'm going to see you guys at Matt's. If you watching, we hope that you'll join us at the Mid-America Truck Show in Louisville. It starts, tomorrow's just driving up and setup day, but it starts Thursday. I think 1 o'clock is general admission, comes in the show Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Louisville, Kentucky, so please join us. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight on Auto Transport Intel. This really has been, we went longer, the show went longer than I expected and planned. And I love it, man. I love that we get a chance to talk about this stuff, and this is really important. There's a lot more to talk about, and when you talk about the undercarriage stuff, man, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been great to be on. Look forward to seeing you at Matt's and continuing the conversation there, and happy to come back on and talk about anything else.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you guys so much. We'll be in touch soon, okay?
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Stay safe out there.
All right. Peace out, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. So there we go. Okay, so let me change this camera back. Man, that was in depth. I gotta say, I know, and you guys can still hear me okay? I think so. I think the audio's okay, and I'm back to the main screen because you know that I'm about to wrap this up. I'm going to start up the car hauler again, and we're going to get out of here. And we still made it a 2-hour show, which is just typical. But, you know, I feel really, I feel blessed that I was able to put together a show week after week, every Tuesday night, with an audience that keeps coming back for information, education, share knowledge, and some entertainment too. And I'm thrilled about it. This was episode number 78 in a row. And then I'm going to be going live from Matt's. I've been working on this for months. Been video testing, audio testing, working on marketing material. Got my vertical banner and the flyers and the business cards. We're going to be going live from booth 63201. We're also a member of the press at the Mid-America Truck Show, so we're going to be walking around doing live interviews. I hope the internet's good. I really hope it's good. I hope I don't have to do everything to record it and then upload it later, but I will if I have to, because sharing information is critical in this industry. There is way too much to know. There's so much on the line, and we're trying to provide a service, feed our families, get through our lives, and just do what we need to do to attain a profitable business that we feel passionate about. But hurdle after hurdle keeps coming our way, and so that's why I created Auto Transport Intel, to help you stay informed about what's going on, learn new technologies, meet new strategic partners, develop your business, and improve the trucking ecosystem. So guys, I'm so appreciative of you guys hanging in here once again. Thanks for joining me on the show. And I've had great comments coming through, and I appreciate that. I can't address everything, but if you had a question I couldn't address it, or somebody didn't get a chance to answer it, please put it in the video comments below this video. I'm also going to have in the descriptions below the video contact information. And for the folks that were on the show, I appreciate Mike coming in, Brian coming in, and Ty spending time with me again. And I want to thank you guys so much for making Auto Transport Intel the car hauling business channel. If you need to learn car shipping, you need to watch Auto Transport Intel. Here comes that car hauler. You stay classy. I'll be seeing you soon. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good night.